Boom, 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 That's red light means it's off, right? It's not recording.
Red flag means it's working.
Cool. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to Mriting Wonday.
Welcome to Mriting Wonday. Really, diarrhea's off the tongue, doesn't it?
It sure do. I guess the first thing that we should talk about is the structure that we're going to be working with, what we're doing today.
This is actually the first upload of like the new everything.
The new regime.
The new regime, the John regime.
Yeah, I'm murdering Jason. I'm a professor now for the channel.
Yeah, and so very fitting, we're discussing pilots.
Yes. Today. Jason and I both talk a lot about TV shows and pilots and writing them and what it takes to make a good pilot, what are bad pilots. And there's kind of two different ways this thing can be a bad pilot, I think. One is that it's just bad TV. Like, oh, this just sucks.
It's just not good.
Or that, like, this is fine, but it does not represent the show well. So as you watch the pilot, you're like, oh, I'm in for, this specific adventure or whatever. And then you watch the show and you're like, that's not what I was promised in the pilot. This is very different.
That's interesting is from my memory and from watching pilots for this podcast, I don't think I've watched one like that.
I think that there are certain things in pilots that are very weird. Like when people don't know their character yet.
Oh, yes, yeah. And so I'm excited to hear about like some of the ones that you're thinking of.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest things is just that sometimes there are like a character will be in the pilot that they don't know what to do with. And they don't realize that they're actually going to have like big changes coming for their character yet.
Or I suppose if there's a character like the Seinfeld pilot where who's not in it, one of them's not in it, right? Elaine's not in the first episode.
Well, let's talk about the pilots we did watch because I'm excited for this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we first talked about we were like, let's both bring two pilots, like one that's pretty good at representing the show or a good pilot or whatever, or one that's not so good.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't
kind
know.
of like the
I don't
general...
know what we talked about. I don't care. I watched a bunch of pilots anyway.
Yeah.
You can't look at my screen for this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just look right at you.
Good. So I watched the Seinfeld pilot.
Look at that.
Did you watch it too?
No, I didn't.
For this? Okay. So I rewatched the Seinfeld pilot because it's such a unique pilot in that this is the Seinfeld Chronicles, right? That was what it was first billed as. And they were like, hey, make this pilot. They made the pilot, and then they were like, we don't want to pick the show up. And that was it. And then they came back and they were like, hey, we want 4 more episodes or 3 more episodes or something like that. But we're not picking it up. And then after those episodes, they were like, okay, fine, we'll give you a season. And then they continued on from there. But it's just super weird that they started and they were like, no.
Yeah. How was the pilot?
It's surprisingly really good. They lean much more heavily into the original premise of the show. And the original premise for Seinfeld was, this is where a comedian gets his jokes.
This is the source material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you watch him in his daily life, and then he goes on stage. It like cuts to him being on stage and telling jokes that are like kind of related to the stuff that happened that day. Like you could see where he got the inspiration from. Mm-hmm. I think that they just kind of realized after a while, they were like, we're just writing a sitcom. People are doing stuff. We like the characters. We have interesting directions, and like Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld are just funny. So they're just writing good show.
Yeah.
And then they watch
good show for me.
Yeah, and then you watch good show, and you're like, I don't care that he goes on stage to
But I would say though, still towards the end, even that opening is stand up that has to do with the episode, kind of, right? Does it not?
I think the intro always does, but
yeah,
it just doesn't cut back and forth every couple of scenes or whatever.
No.
Anyway, so that's Seinfeld. Okay. That's one of the ones I watched. No looking over. You can't look at my screen. Yeah. Another one I watched was Lost.
Okay, I had a feeling you were going to pick that one.
I did too, but I didn't do it.
Okay.
I picked the other more obvious choice, which we'll get to when we get to it. But
do you? I think I have a guess for it, but
I think your guess is going to probably be right.
Okay,
unless it's wrong.
That could be. There's like both of those are possible. Yeah,
it's true. So I picked. I watched Lost. Lost is considered to be one of the best pilots ever.
Right. And
I've watched all of Lost, and I liked it. I think it has some issues, but I liked it. But one issue with Lost, and no spoilers, by the way. I hate spoilers, so I'm not going to do as little spoiling as possible on here unless I specifically say otherwise. The Lost pilot has 2 major issues that really work for it as a pilot and against it as episode 1 of a TV show. The reason that it's such a good pilot, I think, is that, well, first of all, it's really long. it's 2 40-minute episodes or something like that. So you've got like 80 minutes to play with. It's basically a movie. It's a movie that doesn't answer any questions.
When you say it's 2 40-minute episodes, did they actually split it up in 2 episodes?
I believe it aired as one.
It aired as one episode.
Yeah, for the first time, at least.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole nation was hooked.
Yeah.
And the reason that Lost did that so well is the Lost pilot sets up just a jillion questions, and then people have the idea that maybe they'll get answered when you watch the show. Mm-hmm. And that turns out to not always be the case.
Right.
Or if it does answer them, it does so while also posing a bunch of new questions alongside it. So you've got a bunch of questions asked in the pilot, grip all of America, and then you just continue to ask questions. And it's like, wait a second, maybe the pilot wasn't really good because it was intriguing. It's just that they were just asking questions, and that's what the show was about, asking questions.
But it's almost kind of like saying the pilot isn't a good representation of the show because the pilot is the best episode of the show.
I don't even know if that's entirely true, but it might be true.
It might be.
The other weird thing about it is that J.J. Abrams basically made the pilot.
And then dropped it, right?
And then was like, you take it, and then ran away.
Well, he's really good at setting things up.
Yeah.
Because he made that first Star Wars movie. It set a lot of things up and was like, but I don't want to do any more of it.
Yeah. And maybe he shouldn't have.
And maybe he shouldn't have.
Okay, so
but that's not what we're here to talk about.
That's right. All right, no looking. No peeking.
I'm not looking. I'm looking down at this marker.
All right, another one I watched?
Yo, that's a marker right there.
The Sopranos.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. So in 2020, late 2020, like December, I was like, you know what? I really want to watch that Chernobyl show, so I'll get a subscription to Hobo Max. And then... So I did that, and I was like, well, now I've got this for a month after I watched the Chernobyl show. And I was like, what else is on here? And I was like, Sopranos. That's supposed to be the best show ever made. That's kicked off the golden age of television, which it did.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Because I'm Italian. My family's Italian. And I really like that when I watch that show, aside from all the mob stuff, it's just like hanging out with my family. Like, everybody acts like that at all family parties and things. And, like, we eat the same foods, and they talk the same way. Except we don't say gabagool. Growing up, my family always said gabagal.
Gabagal.
And I don't know where that comes from. I don't know, but it was always gabagal.
I can't believe you guys had the gabagal to come.
We had the gabagal. Rewatching the pilot was super fun. But I felt like maybe I should do something that I'm a little more familiar with. So that's what I did for what I actually picked. But here's another one that I watched. Futurama. I picked.
That's not one you picked.
Didn't pick it.
That would have been my guess.
I figured that
the cartoon, when you said it was a cartoon?
Correct.
Yes. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. I watched the Futurama pilot like 3 weeks ago. And then we started talking about doing pilots, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good one. The Futurama pilot's huge. And the reason the Futurama pilot is huge, and this is not a huge spoiler, but in the world of Futurama, they go back to the pilot a lot.
So it's like better later. Like the episode's good, but it's so significant.
Yeah, and not always in a good way. They don't always go back to it, and I go, oh, this is great. A lot of times I go back to it, and I go, that makes it worse.
Oh.
You know, and I love Futurama. It is one of my top 1 favorite shows, of which there are several.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's one of my top 1.
Yeah, it's your favorite show of all of them.
It is my favorite show.
It's your favorite show. And that other show?
And there are other
favorite
favorites,
show.
too. Yeah. But Futurama pilot's great. It's an amazing pilot. And I think that we should at least talk a little bit about it, especially because I think it has such a great intro, which is Fry at an arcade machine, and you just see the arcade screen, and it's just a pixelized ship flying through the air, and he's like, space, which is like a Star Trek intro, right?
Yeah.
And the show's super heavily influenced by Star Trek. He's like, it seems to go on forever and ever, until a giant monkey pops out and starts throwing barrels at you, and then he dies, and then he's like, and that's how you play the game. And then the kid next to the arcade machine's like, you stink, loser. Just that alone, you know so much about the show and about Fry.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny you say that, because from watching and deciding which pilots I like, something that was one of the most important things I found for me is how economical they are in giving you information really quick.
Yes.
And packing it in and it not feeling really bad, like overly packed.
Right.
And that's such a value, especially for a pilot. And so it's funny that you say that is, like, scenes like that are gold for a pilot.
Yes, and I think that there are a lot of pilots that do a really good job of giving you tons of information.
Yeah.
And not, like you said, not having it feel like super.
Because that is the struggle. That's one of the big difficulties of writing a pilot.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when I first watch a show, I'm like, ooh, that was super good. and then I'll go watch like the second episode, and I was going to be like, who the hell is this character? And they were introduced just fine in the last one.
Yeah.
There's just, you're getting such a load of information. My brain just ejects it all out, and I just remember little bits.
Yeah. In fact, now I was pretty young when I first watched Arrested Development for the first time. I watched the pilot, then I watched episode 2, and then episode 3. Episode 3 is Bringing Up Buster. And it was at that moment that it dawned on me that Buster was one of the brothers. I did not realize that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Two. I thought he was like almost like a chauffeur for Lucille, or like a bodyguard, like just someone that was like helping her do things and like being her yes man.
That's actually fascinating.
You know? And it's obvious now. Like they make it so obvious in the pilot. They introduce like this is the brother. But I mean, I was just so like caught off guard by the pilot and all the information they were giving me, and the style was so different.
Did you watch it on TV?
No, I had a cousin, the cousin who's like my parents' age. He had downloaded like the first 12 episodes on a CD and gave it to my mom. Was like, you have to watch this. That's awesome. She's like, okay, and then never did. And then one day I was like going through all my DVDs looking for something to watch, and I was like, what is this? So I watched it.
What a find!
Yeah.
What a cool way to be introduced to a show.
I watched the first 12 episodes, and then I went to Hollywood Video to get the rest of the season.
It's like finding a porno mag in the forest to learn about girls.
Yes.
All right, here's another one I watched. New Girl.
Okay, that's one I watched.
New Girl was close to being picked for me.
Interesting.
Because of the very specific issue of Coach. I think it's fascinating that they filmed this pilot, and I looked into this a little bit, right? I looked this up. Basically, they filmed the pilot, and then the guy who plays Coach was supposed to be done with another show that he was on. He was on a show that had done one season, and he was like, well, that's wrapping, doing this pilot for this other show, New Girl.
Happy endings.
Happy endings, yeah. And then they got renewed, and he was like, oh, well, the show got renewed, so I can't do the pilot.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, do we refilm the pilot now? And they were like, nah, we'll just change the story right away.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a fascinating way to go about it. I'm sure that it was like largely money. They're like, well, we're not going to spend a bunch of money to redo an episode for this.
Yeah.
But I think it works out in a really cool way. And then you get to have Coach come back. And I love when things organically change like that.
Yes.
That there was no plan for this in the original concept of the show.
I love just the loyalty of like, they clearly like him. And they're like, if you can ever come back, we'll take you back.
Right.
That's such a cool thing.
Yeah.
And then I also appreciate that they didn't recast him.
Yes.
And
because
that's
what it felt
character.
Like. It felt like they were doing that when I first watched it. I was like, well, that kind of sucks. Is that I was like, they just replace him with another black guy? That's a little weird.
Yeah.
But then now that I can look back on it and be like, oh, that makes much more sense. Where like, oh, okay, yeah. They have a new character, but then they can keep Coach in.
Yeah. And then
it works.
During the seasons of all 4 of them are there, those are some of the best seasons.
It's true, yeah. Okay, moving on. Another pilot that I watched was Rugrats.
Whoa!
I went a little off the rails at the end. I was like, let me try and do some weird stuff. So I did Rugrats.
Okay.
Which I think is fascinating because the Rugrats pilot is a 22-minute episode of the children's show.
Yeah, that's
usually they're like 2 10-minute episodes, right?
Yeah.
But this was a 22-minute episode.
Do you happen to know if all the other Rugrats episodes are like that?
They're 10 minutes.
Wow.
The first one, though, was like a special one.
Yeah.
Like Lost. That must
be
where Lost
pilot is very similar to the Lost pilot.
In a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Namely, that is twice an episode.
Yeah.
Twice the episode. But it's interesting because, like, it does a really good job of introducing characters.
That's good.
Like, even Angelica and her parents don't show up until part of the way through the episode.
Huh.
Characters get introduced throughout.
So,
and, like, the parents and the kids.
Man, that's a lot of characters.
It is, yeah. You have even Dee Dee's parents are both there.
Oh, wow.
So you have Dee Dee and Stu. So Stu's dad, grandpa that lives with them. But then her parents. So those are 5 adults, right? Then you have Phil and Lil's parents and Angelica's parents. So there's 9 adults.
What about Chucky's dad?
Chucky's dad is not in the pilot.
Interesting.
I think Chucky's already there at the start.
Interesting.
I don't really remember that. But yeah. So you have 9 adults. You haven't even gotten to the Rugrats yet. And they do a good job of introducing them all.
That's awesome.
You know? They just
have, I will say, one of the most nostalgic credits.
It's true, yeah, you can hear it in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that banjo. It's awesome.
Yeah, really rocking banjo.
All right, so another one that I watched is a spin-off of another show. And I have not seen the other show.
Oh.
I've seen the pilot of it years ago. I've seen bits and pieces of it.
So let's play a little game. I want to see if I can guess it.
Yeah.
I need one clue of like 80s. Is it the
90s?
90s.
Yeah.
And this is a spin-off.
A spin-off of a show that I've seen little bits and pieces of.
Is the show beforehand like older than that?
No.
Then?
They run at the same time.
On at the same time. Is it like Benson?
I don't even know what that is, so no.
Is it... Hold on. Give me one.
I've heard of it. I don't know what that show is, though. I also watched the first 2 minutes of Frasier.
Nice.
It's not Frasier.
Oh, and yeah, I was good. Is it like Saved by the Bell? Is that like okay, I don't know what it is.
The Lone Gunmen.
Whoa. Wait, what?
Yeah.
What is that a spin-off of?
X-Files.
What?
Yeah, there's an X-Files spin-off.
The Lone Gunman. What is it about?
It's about some characters that are in X-Files that I don't recognize them from.
Are they like
X-Files.
nerdy dudes?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They run a newspaper called The Lone Gunman, M-A-N, and the show is called The Lone Gunmen, M-E-N. Do you know what the pilot's about?
No.
This is why I watched it. The pilot came out in the 90s.
Okay.
At some point. I don't remember exactly the year. The pilot for The Lone Gunman is about a group of guys that uncover a secret government plot to crash a plane into the World Trade Center.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, The Lone Gunman
way.
is a show that lasted like one season. It's a spin-off of the X-Files. Nobody talks about it. And it leads into the show that I picked.
Whoa!
Okay, it leads into the show that I picked because it has the same creator. The co-creator of The Lone Gunman was a writer on X-Files.
And he's also...
And he's now the creator of the show that I picked.
Are you going to say it now?
I'm going to say it, yeah.
Okay.
Vince Gilligan.
So
co-created The Lone Gunman, and Breaking Bad is the pilot that
No way!
The Breaking Bad
You're blowing
pilot.
my mind right now.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Crazy, right?
All right, so before let's unpack a little bit of that.
Yeah. I got notes.
Can't believe no one's talking about that.
I know.
I kind of want to watch one that as like a
I know,
bonus thing at some point.
But I brought bonuses too.
Okay. God. Okay,
so let's talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Breaking Bad pilot. When rewatching it, I couldn't not pick it because it's so good. In 1994, he wrote a freelance script for the X-Files Season 2 episode Soft Light.
Oh.
And he was later hired as a series regular writer, eventually up to an executive producer, and then was the producer of the spin-off The Lone Gunman.
I just watched Soft Light. I can't remember what it was about, but it was good.
I don't care. He then wrote the Will Smith 2008 superhero film Hancock.
No
which I did
way!
not know that was a Vince Gilligan script.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically his conceit for the show was we're going to take Mr. Chips and we're going to turn him into Scarface. I don't know who Mr. Chips was. I was going to Google it, but I woke up late. I already did a lot of research.
It's not... The thing I'm most interested in is Mr. Chips.
Bryan Cranston.
Who's that?
The star of Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Did a guest spot on an episode of The X-Files where he plays an anti-Semite.
I have heard of this, yes.
Vince Gilligan saw him in this and was like, he's the guy. Okay. So Sony produced the pilot for Breaking Bad.
What's that?
Shut up. Sony produced the pilot for Breaking Bad, and it was for FX. And FX passed on it. But Sony...
Wait. They filmed it already? It was made? Did you just say?
No, the script.
So they read that script for the pilot?
I believe.
And they didn't like that?
Yeah, and according to Vince Gilligan, they made a decision that made sense for them at the time.
Oh, okay.
And he's just grateful that they let him take it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? Vince Gilligan saw Bryan Cranston and was like, this guy has the range for the role. And AMC was like, we think that people are just going to think of Malcolm in the Middle. Let's get Matthew Broderick or John Cusack.
Whoa.
Right? Both of whom turned it down, and then they went with Bryan Cranston.
That literally wouldn't have worked. Like, it just would have fumbled.
I think John Cusack might have been able to do it. I don't know about Matthew Broderick, but Matthew Broderick, as an amazing actor in general, probably could have.
It would have been different.
It would have been totally different.
I would watch a new Netflix series where they remake the pilot with someone new playing Walter White every time. every episode's the same. A Breaking Bad episode where someone new is Walter White. I just want to see more people play that character because it's such an interesting character.
It's a really interesting idea.
You know, and so like I think there are certain roles that's like I'd watch anyone play that role because it would be fascinating. Could you imagine? I can't remember their name right now. Annie Edison.
Alison Brie
playing
Walter White.
Walter White. You know, like that's the
sure.
the way the series can go.
You pitch this to Netflix. You let me know how it goes.
They'll take
Alison Brie as Walter White
for one episode.
Oh yeah, I love it. Come on, I love it. Come on, you idiot!
But you start it definitely with Matthew Broderick, right? Because you advertise it that way.
I think you make Breaking Bad the musical and get Matthew Broderick because he's a Broadway actor.
Damn,
and that would be the venue to get Matthew Broderick into the role of Walter White.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. Shall we?
We shall.
All right. So good.
Yeah.
It just grips you right away.
It's one of those few that really does benefit from the 3 weeks earlier type of vibe.
I felt like a lot of pilots did that. The other show that does it really well is Night Flyers.
What is that?
The one with the lady and the buzzsaw.
Yo, this kid is a fucking ungrateful piece of shit.
Dude, he's such a jerk. He's such a jerk in this episode.
But he does love breakfast.
He hates his mom, but he loves his dad. Walter Jr., the breakfast Chad.
Breakfast Chad? I hope that's... Did you see that they're making a spin-off, Walter Jr.?
No, are they really?
I hope that's the theme of it.
So this fiery demonstration, basically at this school, the head of the chemistry department of this school gave them that idea.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Was not in the script. He uses fire to demonstrate how fascinated he is by chemistry, and he wants to teach these kids and get them into it. And it is effectively a speech that talks about his transformation over the entire series.
That I picked, yeah.
Yeah. So that is just amazing writing. That. But also it uses the fire as like a prop to bring it home. Marie's such a jerk.
What a useless character.
Dean Norris plays every cop I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
He stands like a cop, too.
Oh, no. Is this the pathetic hand job? Yeah.
All one take.
Yeah. Oh, my God. How'd they do that?
It's great how much they get you to root... Fire. It's great how much they get you to root for him. Firing up matches, contemplating death. He's already, strong-arming this kid.
Well, he's not... It's not like he's a good guy that became a bad guy. I think he's truly a bastard on the inside.
Oh, of course, yeah.
His passion's reigniting.
Fire!
Passion is reigniting, but in a different way.
Yep. Uh-oh.
My passion is getting a little too out of hand. That's how you launder money.
And then I went home and fucked my wife. All right. Bada boom.
Bada bing. You know what? That was a good pilot.
Your turn. I give this pilot 1 thumb up.
1 thumb up. Okay. Well, of course. Oh, hi. You're being a little creep, aren't you? Of course, that was one of the best pilots.
Yes.
Really is great.
Oh, I forgot one of the things I watched.
What was it?
The Office.
A bad pilot? Bad first season.
I didn't watch the whole season. I just watched the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought one of the interesting things was that it wasn't the same episode as the original.
What do you mean? Oh, it's not the same as the UK pilot?
No, it's not the same as the US pilot.
What isn't is the same?
The Hindi pilot.
You son of a bitch.
I watched the first episode of the Hindi version of The Office.
And it's a totally different cast and stuff?
It's episode 2 of the American Office Diversity Day. A totally different cast, of course. Yeah, it's totally different. It's a whole thing. It's a new reboot.
And they just remade the shows, though?
There's a French one, too.
But they just remade every episode?
Not every episode. And they changed a lot of stuff, too. But
okay.
in the same... It's as much of a remake, I think, as the
UK
Office.
Ours, yeah.
But it's definitely... It's The Office based on the American Office.
Interesting.
It was awesome.
Really?
Very interesting to watch.
That is
it's on Hulu.
But let me walk you then through, my journey of
I'm
pilots.
ready. I'm here for it.
Mine is not as informative as it is more my journey through.
I'm excited.
So I want to first start by highlighting my two favorite shows of all time and their pilots, which is Community and Arrested Development. Two of which I did not pick.
Okay.
I don't know if you went back for the Community pilot.
I've seen it so many times, though.
Yeah, and just that intro at the beginning when the dean's talking, and he's like, "Some of you are, this. Some of you are old."
Yeah,
and it shows each person.
Yeah.
And
it only does it with a couple of them.
Well, it shows all the ones that we don't start with. We show all of them, and they don't going to come back until later.
I didn't think about that.
But then all of a sudden, Jeff and Abed walk out. And you're like, okay, so these are I guess, because that was the duo that was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be Troy and Abed. Huh. It was supposed to be Jeff and Abed.
Interesting.
And they were supposed to be like this. And then it was supposed to be Pierce and Troy. They connected so well, but they were the only people that were like willing to wait around to do the end credit shots all the time. They're the only people that were around all the time on set. And they're like, we're not going to get a Pierce in one of these because Chevy Chase doesn't want to be around for this. But they're like, these guys are always here. Let's just do a bit. And then after that Halloween end credits bit, they were just like, these guys, this duo is good.
Which was the Halloween end credits bit?
When they're
the zombie one, right?
No, that's the second season Halloween one. The first season Halloween one is when when Abed dresses up as Batman.
That's one of my biggest fears. What is? If I ever woke up as a donut, you'd eat yourself. I wouldn't even question it. It's very tasty. It's cool to know other people think about this stuff too. Yeah.
That's the moment.
They were like, oh,
it's cool to think
each other.
Other people think about this stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Two others that I think are good, but at least for my attention span, a little too slow. The pilot to Firefly, which is great.
I watched
Serenity,
the first half of it.
Another one that is too slow, but I think ultimately is really good, is Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Okay. I don't remember the pilot.
Cooper
much.
doesn't show up until halfway through, and it's like a full movie length pilot. It's not like just a 45-minute. And I love that he doesn't show up halfway through because it works, but it is slow. Another episode of a pilot that I think is really good, but I think I've seen it too many times that I burnt out on it. I think it's unfair. Nirvana, the band, the show.
Oh, well, that's not... Hang on. The pilot of Nirvana, the band, the show is the whole web series. So what do you consider to be the pilot?
So what I said over text, I suppose, was that the pilot is, to me, is considered the pilot to the audience of trying to get the audience to come back next week to watch the next episode.
Oh, interesting.
And to me, I was like, the pilot on TV for Nirvana, the band, is The Banner.
Okay.
Which I think is a great episode. It's
That's
truly amazing. It's a perfect introduction.
I don't think I've ever shown that to somebody and had them not like it.
Yeah. So
Which is crazy because it's such a weird niche thing that I don't know if it's necessarily the whole show is for everyone, but The Banner just hits such good comedy beats.
Yeah. But I also think that mockumentary style works really well nowadays because it feels YouTube.
Yeah.
And it feels approachable because everyone is making shit like that.
Yeah.
You don't have...
It's not a barrier anymore.
Exactly. So it's just it's not... Yeah, it feels weird for a TV show, but it doesn't feel weird to us in our senses to be watching that. We're just like, oh,
True.
Cool. It's like a YouTube video or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it works so well. It's great.
Yeah.
Did
you rewatch it?
I did not.
Okay.
Because I was like, I don't want to... I've watched it so many fucking times.
That's what I did for Community and Arrested Development as well.
Yeah.
That pair, I also... And the American Office. I was like, I've seen it too many times. I don't even know if I could clearly talk about it because I just have seen it
and that's why I just wanted to bring it up as an honorable mention. And one more honorable mention before I actually talk about the one we're going to watch first. What I think might be one of the best pilots I've ever seen. But it's not a list because it's an unaired pilot.
Look Well
is,
of course,
truly, I've never watched a pilot and really been like, I need to see more of this right now.
Yeah, that's the only show.
And then they pull the rug out from under you.
It's so good.
So I figured I would give it some sort of shout out here this podcast to say, if you haven't seen the unaired pilot to Look Well, starring Adam West, go see it. It's so good. And it's on YouTube, I think, right? That's where we watched it.
There's several cuts of it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's great.
So good.
The interesting thing about when I was exploring pilots is I was really trying to think about shows I forgot about and stuff like that. And then I was going back to when I was really first learning how to write a screenplay for a pilot. What pilots are I watching and examining all the time? And there was a pilot when I was younger, like in high school or whatever, that I was like, this is the pilot that I...
The platonic ideal of the pilot. The pilot.
Yeah, I was like, I really liked this pilot. It was very my genre. I'd watch it all the time. And as I was watching, I hadn't watched it in so long. I was like, I remember every beat of this. And it wasn't as good as I remember it.
No.
And so that is the pilot that we're going to watch.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah. Is the one that I think it's fine.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
So this is a pilot that you have seen for many times over the many years, so it's an older show.
But I hadn't seen it in a long time. It was like when I was in high school, I watched a lot. When I was like trying to write pilots for like contests and stuff, this was the pilot I felt I examined a lot.
Third Rock from the Sun.
No, but that's a good guess. That's a good guess. I can go get it.
Is it?
You know what? I'll tell you, I bought it.
Is it Chuck?
It is Chuck.
Ah! He's gonna make me watch Chuck.
I
knew it. I knew you were gonna pick Chuck.
I bought the pilot episode on Amazon because when I went to watch it, I'm like, it's at John's. I had to buy the pilot episode.
No! No! He's gonna make me watch Chuck.
And I was like, oh, I remember Chuck being pretty good, but I'm not gonna do Chuck. And then as I was thinking about the pilots from the past, I was like, God damn, that really was influential to me. Then watching it, I was like, I remember each piece of why it was influential, and now it's a little cringy. But I want to know if you have the same feeling, or if it's because it is rooted in my old writing so much, that style, that I cringe myself.
Maybe.
So that's why I figured it'd be a good episode to examine.
I thought he's gonna make me watch Chuck. This is gonna be the thing.
Yeah.
Not that I have any problem with the show. I've never seen it.
No. All right, here we go. Chuck and you.
How old is this show?
I would say maybe 2008 is when it started. The tech stuff's the hard stuff to swallow.
Huh. I felt that way about the Lone Gunmen.
Oh, yeah, I bet. That would probably be worse.
The Harrison Ford?
No.
With the Harrison Ford. That's Air Force One. What do you mean? Of course it's Harrison Ford. The spin-off.
It's a spin-off of it. I wore Converse all through high school. So I love Chuck.
Because you love Chuck.
Like, that was what turned me on to the
I always wanted to be a Converse guy. My feet are too big. Converse always run skinny.
Yeah.
And my feet run wide.
I think they're getting mini burritos.
Clearly.
I went to a restaurant last night, and on the menu they had mini burros.
They brought out little...
A burro is a donkey.
Yeah, they brought out
a
little
burrito is supposed to mean little donkey in that it's like a very tiny thing, but it has a lot of stuff packed into it, and donkeys have lots of like packs and stuff. That's what the name is.
They're doing a bit.
The problem is they had burritos on the menu too.
That's really confusing.
So they had burritos, mini burros, and burros.
No,
Yeah.
what's the burro?
I know! It was so confusing. They keep showing the apple pie.
I know. That's the one that really sticks
They
out.
also show the Renaissance Center several times.
Waiting for you.
Computer emergency.
I say that all the time because that's been stuck in my head forever.
Oh,
Computer emergency.
Computer emergency.
That's the end of the show. They died.
Bollards? Oh, we love bollards.
Yeah, we do.
We love bollards, dude. Those came up real fast, like spring-loaded. They're ready to go.
I may have to aim like a let loose. Just don't freak out.
Why would you tell the audience that it's fine? Wouldn't it be much more exciting if he doesn't know what's going on? Right? Like,
Right?
what a weird choice.
Mm-hmm. There's a cherry pie in that building.
Give him pie powers.
He knows where pies are at an instant.
Jack, those pictures that you saw were encoded with secrets. Government government secrets. If you saw them, then you know
I hate
them.
it. I hate
So
it
stupid.
so much.
You're telling me all of our secrets?
The word secrets is not a good choice.
He works at Geek Squad. He can do anything. How would that be different from just like punching the computer? You know?
Right, like, just turn the computer off then.
What about
I like it, but I also hate it.
What do we do about this?
I hate this pilot. This is a bad pilot.
Yeah, but isn't it strange
But I
how...
like some ideas about the show. There's a lot of things I do like, so I'd be willing to watch more to see how they evolve.
And isn't it strange how at the time, like, that to me was the pinnacle pilot. Like, I don't know what it was, but I really liked a lot about it.
What a crazy tonal shift. Very jarring. It's a good bit, but he had guns pointed at him in the scene
Right,
before.
how did we get from there to
And
here?
now we're just back to 40-Year-Old Virgin, the TV show, The Pilot.
Don't freak out.
It's a good ending shot, too.
There's so many good things about it, and that's why it really feels like a draft. It really feels like the first draft.
It's like, you got a lot here.
And
Let's
someone's
work
like,
on it.
oh, this could be something. Don't film it yet, though.
Don't bum me at the...
Oh, fuck.
Let's talk about Chuck.
Let's talk about Chuck. There's so many choices that were made.
I'm so glad we watched it in this context
Yes.
because as I was watching it for the first time in how many years, I was like, this would have been embarrassing to watch the way we were intending to like watch it. Like, we're gonna watch Chuck, see if it's like I'm gonna show you the show.
Yeah, you're going to love it.
Yeah. And I was like, thank God. And it was so off. Once I watched it, it was off my list for so long. And then I realized when I was trying to pick like a good and kind of bad one, I was like, this is perfect because of how much it used to mean to me.
Mm-hmm.
And how much now I'm like, this is not great.
Yeah, it's very much a show that you can look at.
That's it. That's the end of your sentence.
It's very much a show that you can look at.
Yours was the second one's an animated.
Yes.
Is it a half hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we have more to watch of it than just the pilot itself.
Oh, shit.
I'm taking you on a journey, and that's why I chose it. Because
Okay.
there's so much more than just the pilot to this pilot.
Okay. Say it.
So, first we have to go back to the ones that I watched in advance, because I didn't tell you all of them. Because in the same way that Nightmen, the Lone Gunmen led into Breaking Bad, I also had stuff that leads into this one. So no looking.
Nightman.
All right, so don't look.
Night Gunman.
Okay. The thing that's interesting to me about Bob's Burgers, and this is not my pick. This is another one that I watched. There's also an original pilot that is not the first episode. There's another show that did that has the other pilot, and it was on the DVD. And when I was a kid, I would watch the crap out of these DVDs. Too much. I watched it too much.
You were a kid.
When I was middle school.
When you were in middle
When I was
school.
in middle school, I watched this show like crazy. I was obsessed with it.
And it's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon.
And it has
and
a
I was
pilot.
like, yeah. And so,
Have I
let
seen the
me take
DVD hanging
you-
around here?
I don't know if I still have them anymore.
Okay.
But here's the thing. So I was like, I think I'm going to do this one because there's so many iterations of it. And we're going to watch all the iterations of it.
Of the one pilot?
Yes.
How many is that?
Sort of. They're very short,
Oh.
but they add up. Basically, there's this guy who went to a school, went there for animation, and he made this very short film, and it ended up getting him a job right out of college. And we're going to watch that.
Oh, can I take a guess?
Yes. Okay, you can take a guess.
Is it Family Guy?
It sure is.
Holy shit.
So we're going to watch...
I think I've seen at least one of the unaired pilots.
Okay, we're going to watch Life of Larry by Seth MacFarlane. This is the quality that is on YouTube. He's 25, or maybe even younger at this time. When he signed the deal with Fox, he was 25.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
For, I think, $2.5 million a year.
Hi there. You scared the crap out of me. I'm Seth
I've seen this.
Associate Production. Sure, it may offend a few folks, but I can afford it. Well, Larry's on a
How true that became.
Yeah.
So that's Life of Larry.
Wow.
It's so obviously the seed of Family Guy being
Oh,
planted.
sure, yeah.
And you can tell that he hadn't quite figured out, or just chose not to, how to string jokes together. And then when Family Guy first aired, he was like, we'll just do cutaways. You don't have to string them together at all.
Yeah.
Just throw them in. Yeah, so basically Hanna-Barbera saw that hired him to do those shows. Then, while at Hanna-Barbera, produced a sequel called Larry and Steve, which we will watch now.
Stewie's has usually got good stuff.
Store named Stewie's. Yeah, they got motorcycles.
Come on, I'll buy you a licorice whip.
Wow.
I hate the
Quagmire.
Yeah. Proto-Quagmire. So different.
That's very different.
So, it so very much has that, like, classic cartoon, like,
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera vibe. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how different it actually is. And it's crazy how much more similar Family Guy is to the original
Than to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we still have the Family Guy pilot.
Oh my god.
So the Family Guy pilot is its own thing. Fox saw those, or that one, or one of the others, I don't remember which one, and we're like, we'll give you like $40,000 or $50,000 to make a pilot for a show. Apparently at the time, shows were given like $500,000 for a pilot for animated shows. So this was actually like a ridiculously small amount of money to do it. So Seth MacFarlane spent 6 months animating in his kitchen, making this, and did most of the voices himself.
That's probably how he got to get it. They were probably like, we don't have the budget for an animated show right now. And he's like, I did this for $0. I'll do this for half of what you would, or like a quarter. And
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
all right, if you can do it for a quarter of what we do.
It's actually 10%.
Yeah.
10%.
Damn.
A tenth of what they normally.
And what a deal to make if he can do it, you know?
Yeah.
And he did it.
So this pilot aired before the first episode,
Wait,
the one that we're about to watch.
what?
But it also
So it's not a pilot?
It is the Family Guy original pilot, but it's not the first episode of Family Guy.
The first episode of Family Guy.
It's like the same thing, but with like newer animation and different voices and stuff, right?
Oh,
And the jokes are a little different.
interesting.
Yeah, so
Is
we're
it
gonna
the same plot though?
Yes, and it gets cut short. There was more of it too. So what I was going to say is that there is more after what the pilot ends at. I don't know if it's a full 22 minutes, but that's lost. But there are bits of it.
The rest of it is lost.
Yeah, the rest
It's
of it
so
is
weird.
lost.
That's
Yeah,
so
James
strange.
J.J. Simmons came in and
J.J. Simmons.
J.J. Abrams came in and filmed Lost and put it at the end of the Family Guy pilot. So all right, so here we go. This is the Family Guy pilot. This is also included on the DVD,
Ooh!
which I could not find. There's Quagmire.
You win.
Drink the beer.
All right, what do I win? Another beer.
It's great as friggin' crap.
You know this is all because he drank at the stag.
I want that shirt.
No, honey. Butter rum's my favorite.
It was Rum Raisin in the last one, so we see how it evolves. Comedy
Yeah,
really.
there's a process to it.
New Mr. Weed voice.
Thank you. But I need you to be more than just
Way
one.
more fitting to the character. Also, the dude who played the voice of the Taco Bell dog.
because of this.
All right, so we did it. That was all the pilots.
Yeah.
Your turn.
I chose a show that I watched a while ago, really liked, and then just kind of disappeared in my mind for a while. And then every once in a while I'll see it and be like, oh, that was a good show.
Animated?
Nope, not an animated
Live
show.
action?
Live action. And it's on Hulu. And I saw it again while I was looking at pilots, and I was like, I gotta revisit that. And this time especially, just everything about the show kind of clicked more with me. But the pilot is pretty good, I think. It is Better Off Ted.
Oh!
Have you ever watched it?
I want to say that I've seen a little bits and pieces of it. I don't think I've ever watched a full episode.
Every day, something we make makes your life better. Usually.
Oh my god.
Meridian Dynamics. Life better.
I'm on the road to Meridian Dynamics.
Just
I
tell
don't
me
like
you
the
wanna
kid.
do it. They can't force employees.
This adult in a child's body's weird.
The kids like that talk, though. Like that.
Do they?
Yeah. I mean,
Hello, Linda. Oh, hi.
I mean, sometimes
Can I surprise you?
they'll say things that are surprisingly
I'm just
adult,
a
but
friendly person.
I don't know where the show's going. I liked it. I'm along for the ride. You know, I want to see what happens next or whatever.
that's
So I
what
guess
keeps me
that's-
interested. To me, though, it just pitches the show of like a workplace, a workplace comedy in one of the most morally bankrupt businesses in the world.
Yes.
And that is so fascinating to me because like no one's ever done it. You actually really haven't seen many shows like that in a comedy sense anyway, but then to do it so zany.
It is zany.
It is
I
so.
like it.
You don't like it?
I like it.
Oh yeah,
I like it.
I love how zany it is. How they like it's just the perfect. They freeze one of their employees, and then he gets thawed out, but there's something wrong, so they have to fire him. Like that's just the perfect moral falling.
I also like that he only does 2 days frozen or whatever. He's immediately out with like brain damage.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever watched a single second of that TV show. I thought I had.
Yeah. And something I like about it is that it's very economical when it comes to like introducing the plot and the characters, and then it slows down when they're doing real character work. When they're like, you know what, I'm going to stop to bring these two guys to have a discussion, and then they'll slow down the writing in terms of comedy too. They'll do fast-paced stuff to lead you into something, and then they'll sit you in a scene where you're like, you know what, just enjoy this. You know, it doesn't have to be just off-the-wall shit for a second. Yeah.
It was great. It shows I didn't think I'd be watching today for sure.
Yeah, right?
Both of them I had not seen.
Yeah.
No, I had a good time. There is one other thing that we wanted to do.
Okay, what did you want to do?
But we have Discord questions.
Holy shit, we were going to start with that.
We got to go to the audience.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Camo Bo asks, here's a question. How often have you encountered the sunk cost fallacy, a.k.a., well, we've come this far, so we can't give up now? And if it does happen, do you think it's better to publish a video you might not think that highly of, or do you scrap the idea since you know that it's just not going to work? Also, I just want you to know that this podcast sounds like it'll be loads of fun, so sign me up. You were wrong.
Yeah. This sucks.
This sucks.
This fucking sucks.
You know what? Sunk cost fallacy, though. We got to keep doing it.
You're right. This, actually.
Okay, so what do you think?
Just examples of really good ones would be our second improv movie, Mild Midwest.
Yeah.
Is 100%. Like, we really hit a rough patch where we were like, this isn't working. And we made our best improv movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's not the best. Double feature's for sure the best.
I think double feature could be the best if it was the original cut.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
I think that a tighter cut of double feature might be a better movie, but it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, and I don't.
And we're not going back to it.
Yeah. No.
Do you think that there are any Professor episodes that you either didn't make or kept going even though you thought it might be bad?
There are lots of episodes that I've written and haven't done anything with the script after. There are some episodes that I have filmed things for and then nothing has gone for them. There's one episode that is fully done, edited and everything, and I never posted it. And I didn't like it. And Dan and Mike watched it more recently, and they were like, why didn't you post this? It's so good. And I just don't like it.
Yeah, that's a good indication that it's not good.
Mike and Dan like it.
Yeah. Good thing. He dodged a bullet on that one.
And multiple times I've thought about, and I probably will be reusing pieces of that story. I should show you at some point just for...
I don't want to see it.
Oh,
so
fair. And then...
I know one. Not that one that was dog shit, but I know one that definitely had a big sunk cost moment. You definitely finished something and then went back and recut it. And that's...
the Arceus one, isn't it?
Eastern White Pine.
I will say episode 3 of Eastern White Pine, which is the one that the first time Alolans ever show up. The stuff we filmed with Sean, we filmed that 3 times. All of it.
Wow.
All of it, we filmed it 3 times. Because we filmed it one time, as we were filming it, the light was like dying. We were like, okay, let's continue to film this just to see how it works, how it looks, but we know we're going to have to come back because the light's gone.
Oh, wow.
Out of the night. So we just filmed it to see how the character would be, and we really enjoyed it. So then, like 2 days later, we came back and filmed it in the daylight. And that episode just never worked out. And then a year and a half later, we refilmed the whole episode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's good on that one.
There was a second part of it, though, right? Like,
if it does happen, do you think it's better to publish a video you might not think that highly of, or do you scrap the idea since you know that it's just not going to work?
I tend to scrap the idea.
I'd say scrap it.
I tend to scrap it. In the world of making a career off on YouTube, upload it.
I don't even think that's necessarily true. because if something's just not going to be good,
Yeah.
you do something else.
What if you edit this and this is shit?
It won't be, because I'm editing it.
You're right. He's right.
All right, next question. Yeah, no, I mean, if this sucks, and it might, like, it could be a 30-minute podcast,
Yeah.
and that would be
Could be
fun.
20 minutes. Could be a 5-minute podcast.
Could be 10-second podcast.
could be-
Hey, it's like 5-second film. 5-second podcast. Hey,
That's it.
Thanks for
That's the
watching.
podcast. We can upload that version to like TikTok. Welcome to our 5-minute. Oh! And that is the end of our 5-second podcast.
Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah. Next question. Yeah.
So this comes from Mike Arndt, except of course I have to read his actual Discord name, which is Spider Ass Lover.
Yeah, who isn't?
Here's my question: was Napoleon a brutal dictator or a spreader of Enlightenment ideals? I don't know.
I don't know. Pass. You know what? Ask your dad. He taught me history.
That's fair.
Yeah.
King J_EXE asks, aside from the completely improv movies, how often do you improv jokes and whatnot in professor videos? What a good question. Hang on, there's a part 2 though. How often are you able to keep a straight face when a good improv joke happens? How many running gags started as improvised jokes? So 3 questions.
Yeah, that's really good.
The first, these are excellent. I love
Yeah.
these questions. The first one, aside from the completely improv movies, how often do you improv jokes and whatnot in professor videos?
A good amount of time.
It's got like a third of the content. It's like the backbone of the story is written, and then there's improv jokes that will just like reformulate things constantly.
Yeah. If it's like the old professor videos that was just me, there's no improv because I wrote it.
Because
so,
you
like,
already proved it.
Yeah, I proved it. But like, yeah, there's improv with all the. I would say, I don't think there's a single video that doesn't have a little bit of improv in there. I think even like Tracy going like on your left but pointing, or on your left but pointing right, was like an improv bit that became a reoccurring bit.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you improv stuff as ass face all the time.
I love doing that.
I would say every video has improv. I find that the more I embrace the fact that it's probably going to change on the day of, it's better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. All right, so the second part of this 3-parter is, how often are you able to keep a straight face when a good improv joke happens? And I love this question specifically because my whole goal on set is to just make other people laugh.
Yeah.
I just want you to break.
It's so funny that that is your main goal,
Yeah.
but you are so easy to break.
Instantly. So if I'm trying to make somebody break,
You break first
then
sometimes.
it's usually you. It's usually I try to get you to laugh. You go along. You yes and me, and I'm like, that's funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Your response to me was so funny.
But like when anytime you're like messing with somebody and then you'll be like, wait, explain that again. And you like laugh at yourself for being just a fucking jackass.
Because I know how funny I am, and I have to.
Yeah.
I remind myself of that when I'm funny.
Yeah, you forget, and then you're like, oh, shit. I want to try to rank, like, who's the best at it. Because I think one of the best at, not improv, I'm saying, but, like, keeping the straight face. Mike is really good.
Mike gets into character.
Mike gets into character. It's almost,
and I do make him break sometimes, and it's the best.
But he does it, you can see, like, he goes back inside of his head again, and he's like, okay, fine,
Like, wait,
we'll
can
stop.
Can I yes and that?
Yeah,
Nope,
we'll
I'm out of
stop.
ideas. Okay,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Yeah.
So Mike-
I don't think he ever really breaks. He just doesn't have.
He doesn't
an
have
answer.
anywhere to go, and he's
If
like,
he
you
just,
got me.
Maybe he just needs to work the improv muscle a little bit, and then he'd be unstoppable.
He'd be unstoppable.
Yeah, he would.
He doesn't break.
I think it would be a crime not to bring up me and Max during Buddy Hunters, because that whole thing is I was just trying to get Max to break.
Yeah, and it shows if you're watching that movie that the amount of times that you're just you're not yes-anding him. You're
No,
like,
I'm just be like, that doesn't make any sense.
wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
Answer more of this before we move on to this. I have questions. Where are the bodies? I don't know.
There are consequences for answering my questions. All right, so the third part of the
so
question is, how many running gags started as improvised jokes? And you already said the one of them.
One.
The horse.
That's kind of in the videos.
Yeah.
When we were filming the Circuitry movie, and we were doing like the portal thing, and like the horse comes out of the portal, and I was behind, and I was like, oh, okay, and then at this point, the horse, and I was like trying to go like, bam, and then horse.
Yeah,
and
but you said horse.
And I think it was you and Mike called me on it. We're like, horse. And so, and that, if you listen close enough, you can hear that.
It's in the movie. Horse. Okay, here we go. The first two are from Dan and Sean. Not reading those. The next one is from Professor Allen. How to get motivation? Question mark.
How to get motivation?
Question mark. How to get motivation? Question mark. Ideas come easy, but the motivation to put everything else on pause so you can sit down to write, film, create, etc. is so hard. Will take me weeks before I can write down a 1-minute script idea. Excellent question.
Yeah.
These are great.
Excellent question, especially because that has become more a problem for me as I age. I feel like I'm like losing focus, and so like I was able to sit down and write a script easy at a certain point. At a certain point I was able to do that, and now it's like one of the harder things I can do.
Do you think that that's a... Like, do you think that there are other causes than just age? Like, are you jaded? Or are you like, well, my writing scripts is a waste of my time now, or something like that? Or is it just that, like you're not interested in it anymore? Or, like, what do you think?
I think it's the... I think it's just the anxiety and stress I put on it. Just on myself. I put too much importance on it. And... I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I feel like every move I make has to be critical, because I need to be moving up because I'm falling down, and I think that has gotten in my head of like if you're gonna spend time writing, it has to be something that
be
worthwhile for your life, so you can keep living. You know what I mean? And then
so capitalism.
Yeah, and then you can keep making stuff just for fun after you get to that point. You know, and I think that like paralyzes me. So for me, these days, things that motivate me is working with people.
Yeah, well, that's why you and I started working together more often and doing more writing stuff together, or like tossing things back and forth.
The real heart of what's going on here is that like you're taking a real big piece of this whole project now, like full 50% of it, like
the dark meat, the juicier parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have the juicier part of the
You take the big breasts. I'll take the wings and the thighs and the legs.
But I have the big breasts.
You get big breasts. Dan asks.
What a weird little place that went. Oh, hey, one more thing before we go then. What are some of your favorite pilots? Leave it in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that was a thing that we wanted to ask.
We do want to know. And
we should ask that.
Yeah, and we're going to read some of them.
Ask it.
I just did.
Can you do it again? Because I talked over.
Ready? Here we go. What are some of your favorite comments?
That was just for sound. You gotta wait till I say action.
Gotcha. Okay, ready?
Action.
What are some of your favorite pilots? Leave them in the comments, and we'll read them. You did pretty good at not interrupting me there. I was like eyeing you like at any point.
You interrupted yourself. I
know. You got me.
You
got me. Yeah, we're gonna read some of your comments from the next one. In the next one.
No.
Now we're really getting the flow going. This is a really good podcast now.
Now it's a podcast when I don't let you talk.
Now it's a podcast. We're going to read about your favorite pilots in the next one, and then who knows what we're going to talk about in the next one.
I think that we need to ask a better question, as in, like, format it in such a way that prompts more discussion.
Okay.
Like, what are your favorite pilots? Sure, but...
What do you think makes a good pilot? What do you look for in a pilot?
What is your favorite pilot, and what do you look for in a good pilot?
Yeah.
I think that's the question.
Yeah.
Vote now on the...
Text 2335 to your grandma. Text it to your grandma.
Text that number sequence to your grandma. Yeah.
Leave it at that. She'll know what it means.
Yeah, she's a real fan.
All right. See ya.
All right, let's get out of here. This guy. Play the bumper.
Bumping around.
Bumping
around town. Thank you for watching Professor Productions. If you enjoyed, subscribe for new videos every week. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can head over to Patreon or hit that join button on YouTube. See you next time. Bye now. Bye. Bye-bye. So long. Sayonara. Leave! I like how you get stopped to laugh at your own tweet.
What?
It's like when you're going down my page, you stopped to laugh at something that I retweeted of yours.
Did I?
I think so. The one of me in the cornfield, and it said like I'm starting a white man. It looked like you stopped and went.
Me.
Yeah, it's not. I didn't tweet that.
You caught me. I laughed at my own tweet.
It's funny.